Tonight, police plea for public information on the alleged murder of a 21-year-old woman. And more Spencer Gulf locals receive jabs as the COVID-19 vaccine rollout continues.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. More details have been released by police over the alleged murder of a 21-year-old woman whose body was found more than 430 kilometres away from her home. Detectives issuing a plea for anyone with information to come forward.
Detectives piecing through the events leading up to the alleged murder of Jasmine Cower.
Investigators were satisfied Jasmine had not died at her own hands and in fact had been the victim of a murder.
A post-mortem confirming that information.
We believe most likely in the early hours of the 6th of March.
Police calling on the public for assistance in their ongoing investigation, looking into her last known whereabouts. What they know so far is Jasmine was last seen at 10 p.m. on Friday, leaving work at Southern Cross Care on Marion Road. Her auntie and uncle reported the 21-year-old missing on Saturday morning at Hindley Street Police Station. After her work alerted them, she didn't arrive for her shift.
Her car was left in the car park where she'd parked it at the commencement of her shift. We believe it to be extremely unlikely that Jasmine left willingly.
Police appealing for anyone who saw a 2009 blue metallic coloured Commodore with the registration number S267CJD. At 10:46 p.m, police say Jasmine was inside a vehicle, which triggered safety cameras at Virginia. Also triggering other cameras at Two Wells just after midnight, Port Wakefield at 12:40 a.m, then nearly 3 hours later at Stirling North on Saturday, March 6. Those Stirling North cameras activated again, travelling south towards Adelaide at 2:27 p.m.
Basically between Stirling North, Morillana Creek, back to Stirling North in that area for about 11 hours. And if you take out travelling time, that leaves about 8 hours to bury Jasmine and a considerable amount of time unaccounted for.
Detectives are issuing a plea to anyone at Stirling North, Port Augusta, Quorn or Hawker who may have dash cam footage or any information about the vehicle to come forward. Also trying to locate some missing property belonging to Jasmine, including a brown handbag, black slip-on shoes and work ID and access tags.
These items could be in a parking bay, they could be discarded on the roadside. But we're looking as well for a plate of some description and a knife.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A 60-year-old woman has been arrested for allegedly bringing drugs into the Port Augusta prison. The local is facing a number of charges, including trafficking a controlled drug, introducing a drug to a correctional institution and abuse of public office, and will appear in the Port Augusta Magistrates Court next month. More than 100 healthcare workers are set to receive their COVID-19 jab, with Port Pirie's vaccination hub officially opening. It's the first stage of the AstraZeneca vaccine to be rolled out across the York Mid-North.
Rolling up his sleeves, this Port Pirie nurse is among the first in the region to receive the AstraZeneca jab. Last week, Murray Bridge marked history with the first Australian to receive the vaccine, but now a rollout at Port Pirie's GP will welcome hundreds of York Mid-North residents to receive the jab.
Part of the solution to be vaccinated to protect not only my co-workers but also our community.
800 doses have been transported to the York Mid-North. This COVID-19 nurse says receiving the jab is a relief.
She obviously has a greater risk of being exposed to COVID, and so we're very keen to have her in the first wave to be vaccinated.
Experts say the AstraZeneca vaccine doesn't need to be stored in deep freeze conditions, which is ideal for sending to country hospitals.
Country people and outback people have exactly the same opportunities to receive COVID vaccinations as people in the city.
The program will continue in the coming weeks.
It's effective, it's voluntary, but we urge people, please make the choice and get vaccinated.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Meanwhile, regional aged care residents and frontline workers in the Flinders and Upper North Local Health Network have today also received the COVID-19 vaccine. Staff say it's all about protecting those who are most at risk.
getting the jab to shield against COVID-19. It's a big milestone for the region, with the Flinders and Upper North Local Health Network receiving 1,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine as part of Phase 1A of the rollout.
This gives us another layer of protection to protect our community and our residents. So yeah, we're all very excited and looking forward to the rollout.
Among the first recipients, healthcare workers and aged care residents at Quorn Health Service. Authorities say it's an important step in protecting those on the front line, while also safeguarding the most vulnerable members of regional communities.
Here at Quorn we have our aged care, residential aged care service, and so we've chosen to start the rollout in the Flinders and Upper North, where we have our aged care service.
Health Minister Stephen Wade says more than 4,000 doses of the vaccine have been administered in South Australia, with distribution set to ramp up across the region.
We'll move through our other health services in the Flinders and Upper North, so Hawker, across Port Augusta, Whyalla and Roxby Downs.
The main message to the region:
we need to roll our sleeves up, and it's quick, it's safe, and the sooner we can get all vaccinated, it'll be a lot safer for everybody.
Katrina Mussin, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, a motorbike crash survivor encourages road safety with Port Lincoln students, and a woman caught allegedly drink driving in Wallaroo. Welcome back. A 44-year-old Kadina man will face court after allegedly breaking into a car in Wallaroo on Friday night. At around 10:40, police say a car was broken into and a man was arrested and charged with illegal interference of a motor vehicle. He was bailed and will appear in court in May. Meanwhile, a 46-year-old woman was caught allegedly drink driving in Wallaroo on Wednesday. At around 1:30 in the morning, patrol stopped a vehicle for a random breath test. It's alleged the driver recorded a reading of 0.094. She was reported for drink driving and will appear in court at a later date. A father involved in a crash which left him with multiple broken bones has shared his emotional story of survival with students across the region. Yudi Mohan Ram pleading with motorists to think about road safety.
Driving home after work, Yudi Mohan Ram was blissfully unaware his life was about to change forever.
I sustained both legs broken, right wrist crushed, all the ribs on my left side of my body broken.
A Friday afternoon drive ending in tragedy when a P-plate ran a stop sign T-boning Yudi. He was flung off his motorbike and thrown 25 metres down the road. In a cruel twist of fate, his family was driving past at the time.
They was confronted with the same scene of me lying in the middle of the road and paramedics working on me.
He was rushed to hospital in a critical condition, where his family was told he wouldn't survive. Thankfully he did, and now after years of therapy, he's sharing his emotional story.
And that'll hopefully save some lives out on the roads there.
The road awareness program visiting schools pleading with students to think about road safety. Yudi's nightmare crash still haunting him.
This was 19 years ago, but it still seems like it's yesterday because the injuries stay with you forever.
So far this year, 22 lives have been lost on South Australian roads. 6 were motorbike riders.
Motorbikes are only 3% of the vehicles that are on our roads, but at the moment, they're 20% of deaths on our roads just for this year.
Nothing is as important as your life and your family's life.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A select committee will now be created to research land mining access regulations following an overturn in Parliament last week. The member for Frome, Jeff Brock, says he's hoping the inquiry will help protect South Australian landowners' rights.
Hitting the ground running, preparations are underway just a week from approval to create a select committee.
The Select Committee will meet for the first time next week on Monday prior to the Parliament sitting. And from there we'll be able to ascertain the itinerary when we're going to go out into the region.
It follows years of rallying to re-evaluate land mining access rights and the laws to do so. A committee formed to look into those rights of mining companies.
Comprehensive Select Committee. We've got 2 Liberals, 2 Labor and 2 Independents on this one here. And we're going to go across all the regions in South Australia eventually. We're going to go to the southeast, we're going to go to the Eyre Peninsula, Upper Spencer Gulf, York Peninsula.
The committee will undertake research over the coming months with outcomes expected to be revealed in November.
My concern is, have we got the best processes available? Can we improve on those? And one of the things we want to be able to look at what other jurisdictions are in place across nationally and also internationally.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. A major music festival coming to the Mundi Plains, years in the making. And a funeral director takes her services underwater. Hello again. Our region will host one of the biggest music festivals since the pandemic began, with A-list Australian artists to perform at the Broken Hill Mundi Bash. The new event set to inject millions of dollars into the local economy.
Singers on site and flags in the ground. These empty plains to be transformed into a new flagship event.
Just look at the site we've got to work with. It's a blank piece of paper. This is going to be an amazing festival site.
The Broken Hill Mundi Bash set to boost tourism in the far west. Up to 10,000 people expected to fill the plains at the inaugural festival in August.
We have forecasted over the 3 years this will generate about $5.4 million in visitor expenditure across the Broken Hill region.
Kate Sobrano joining a long list of Aussie music legends to perform, including Paul Kelly, Ian Moss and John Williamson.
The normal for arts and culture will be to get in your car, travel somewhere, stay overnight, enjoy your Australian music.
Planned by the same group responsible for the Big Red Bash in Birdsville, organisers say a new event here will be much more accessible for travellers.
I think that might change slightly the demographic, but it's a real family-oriented event.
And while the event was finalised during the COVID-19 slump, it's been in the pipeline for more than 5 years. Funding already secured through Destination New South Wales to keep the bash at Mundi until 2023. Broken Hill City Council also chipping in.
We will support Silverton and the Broken Hill Mundi Bash. We are committed to this.
I think I'm going to have to write a song about that. Mundi.
Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A Port Lincoln celebrant is turning the traditional funeral on its head by offering ceremonies out at sea. It's understood it's the first time on-water funerals have been formally offered in South Australia.
Navigating the way to farewell a loved one.
It's something we're excited to offer, it's something we've listened to our community to offer. And
a new funeral service taking the plunge in Port Lincoln, offering families a chance to scatter ashes of loved ones out at sea.
To remember their loved ones, to feel the ocean, to feel the breeze of the ocean and connect to them in this way.
Teaming up with Oceanic Victor to help ferry grieving families out and around picturesque Boston Bay.
We're lucky enough to have one of the biggest bays in the country here in sheltered waters, so usually there's somewhere nice within 15-20 minutes of Port Lincoln Harbour or the marina here.
The vessel can carry 75 passengers, offering private viewing and reflection areas.
I have had national interest on this, and especially for those that are on the Eyre Peninsula.
Set to become the only formal at-sea funeral service in South Australia.
Love the idea of offering something extra for people to have at a time when it's hard to make decisions for yourself.
Nearly 70% of Australians choose to be cremated each year. With that number on the rise, more families are looking at alternative ways to say goodbye.
Wanting to offer a service that perhaps resonates more to the community or giving people more of a choice.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
It was this time last year when Australia was fighting devastating summer bushfires. Lifeline Australia says it's still receiving 400 calls a day, specifically from those who lost everything during those months.
It was a devastating event for Australia, one which made the history books. Spencer Gulf locals joining others across the country, rallying together to support those affected.
These were warlike circumstances, people losing their homes, people being evacuated in the middle of the night. There was enormous trauma.
A whole year later, and Lifeline is still receiving daily calls for help from those whose lives came burning down around them.
People are still going through the trauma and the mental anguish of the rebuild phase and what happened to them.
The Lifeline Australia chairman meeting with IAG's Executive General Manager this week, both reflecting on the devastation caused by the bushfires and reminding Australians suffering from mental trauma that help is still available.
Together with the RACV, NRMA has provided $2 million worth of funding to Lifeline Australia. And that's all about enabling them to extend their telehealth services for people in communities that have been impacted.
If you or someone you know needs assistance, Lifeline has a dedicated bushfire recovery helpline on 13 43 57.
For the first time in our history, we established a specific line, 13 HELP, to help people affected by the bushfires. We wanted to have a service that specifically tailored the needs of the people who were affected.
Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Our fishing experts will share their tips for the weekend, and we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. Wales Maritime Museum has officially unveiled a new artefact dating all the way back to World War II. The new edition is now open to the public, with many military buffs across the country eager to take a look.
This war gun now restored to its former glory.
This morning we've all gathered here at the Maritime Museum for this official opening of this fantastic new tourism attraction.
This 40mm Bofa gun, one of only 11 produced during 1942, now belongs in the gardens of Whyala's Maritime Museum.
We have got the actual markings, on the gun, so everyone can actually see it, on top of the official, plaque in front explaining, the history of the gun and everything.
Waiting to be restored for almost 20 years, it was finally made possible thanks to a special donation.
We were contacted by CSL Australia with a possibility of a grant towards the restoration.
CSL Australia donating $7,000 to restore the artefact, now available to the public.
It's been fantastic. It was very great to be able to support such a project here in Whyalla.
The project's work, including the restoration, was all carried out by local contractors.
This is a really good example of the Whyalla City Council working with CSL, a local business here, to help restore an iconic piece of tourism for our city.
Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Time to see what's biting out in the Gulf this weekend. Here are our experts with their tips.
Welcome to another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips. A little bit of rain over the place starts to get those fish really going at the moment, and the heat that we're going to pick up over the next 2 days will really give us an opportunity to get some last feeds of blue swimmer crabs. We did tell you last week about King George whiting being out the front of Port Davis Creek, so that is still on the case, so still have a little trial around that area and you should be able to pick up a new season King George whiting. And don't forget, squid's not far around the corner, so put a squid jag over while you're there. See you next week.
Hi, Whyala's fishing tips this week. Some good sized yellowfin whiting are starting to run across the local foreshore, so get down there, get amongst those. Best to walk in and out with the tides, early morning, late afternoons, and the best bait has been on prawns and also squid tentacles. A little bit further down towards Mount Young, still blue swimmer crabs are coming in big numbers. A few King George whiting have been hit and miss in the area, and there's been some garfish amongst with those as well.
G'day and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jewel of the North. Silver whiting really big out in those middle banks at the moment. People are bagging out and getting real big ones there. Really nice crabs around at the moment. They're big and full of meat, and the razorfish are fairly prevalent and nice sizes on the shack there too. But as always, just check local guides on that as well for your particular spot. There are a couple of flatheads still getting caught on those big high tides in the morning, and also out along the weed lines and along the front of the shacks, and also around into Port Patterson where they're also getting some salmon as well. That's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Well, blue swimmer crabs have been the main target over the past week and they're going pretty well at the moment. So most crabs have been caught in around Proper Bay and also in Spalding Cove. Squid are going okay as well locally. The size seems to be improving, which is good. Squid have been caught off the town jetty as well as by local boaties. Moving over to Coffin Bay, there were a handful of tuna caught around Rocky Island last weekend, and there have been some good Samson fish caught out that way too when the weather cooperates. Well, that's it for this week. We'll see you again with more tips next week.
Let's take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Alex.
Thanks, Ruby. Mainly fine day today. From 3 p.m, Whyalla is sunny and reached 24 degrees. Similar conditions in Port Lincoln, 23, and mostly sunny in Broken Hill. It topped 28 there. Looking further out across the region now, Port Augusta got to a high of 29. Port Pirie and Woodner both sunny and 27 degrees. Kadina and Cleve both 23 degrees. Mostly sunny in Clare, 26. Cooper Pedy reached 35 and Adelaide got to a high of 24. Taking a look at the satellite image now. now, cloud over the northeast corner of SA with a trough is producing showers and storms. High cloud over the south in the jet stream is not producing any rain. Skies are largely clear elsewhere under a building high pressure ridge. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. South to southeasterly winds 10 knots, seas below 1 metre, and south to southwesterly swell around 1 metre. Heating up slightly on Friday, Port Lincoln a cloudy top of 33, Cleve 35, Woodna very hot and mostly sunny 38 degrees there. Whyalla 35, Port Augusta 37, Kadina mostly sunny set to reach a high of 33. Port Pirie 35 degrees, Clare 32 and Broken Hill sunny and 33. Taking a look at the weekend's weather forecast now, rainy across most parts on Saturday except for in Cooper Pedy, Woodna and Port Lincoln where it is cloudy conditions there. Port Augusta and Whyalla both 24 degrees, a top of 23 in Woodna, Port Pirie and Kadina, Broken Hill a top of 32. Clearing up in the Gulf on Sunday, 24 in Cooper Pedy, cloudy and 21 in Port Augusta, Woodna and Kadina, Whyalla, Port Lincoln and Broken Hill all set to reach 20 degrees, Port Pirie 22. Looking further through the week now, similar conditions forecast on Monday, a sunny top of 25 degrees in Cooper Pedy, Broken Hill will top 21, set to be a max of 24 in Port Augusta, Port Pirie and Woodna. That's all the weather from me for tonight, Ruby. It's back to you.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Thursday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.